Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Coach Rowe here, along with Coach Matt, Coach B, Coach K, Coach Chris. We're all the Rowe Pro staff. This is our family. Today, we're going to be going through a series of different core values that we go by as a team. Our core values lead off of the word faith, right? So faith, being the first letter in the acronym, is going to be family, which is actually going to be our main discussion for today. We're just going to be talking about things within Rowe Pro, personally, everything around the word family. The next word is going to be ambition, right? So for the A is ambition, the I is impact, the T is teamwork, and the H is heart. So each week we're going to be covering different letters and kind of just diving deep into it. So before we start, we want to go ahead and just have a prayer. We're going to have Coach B lead us off in a prayer before we get into the discussions.
Dear Heavenly Father, we want to say thank you for the opportunity. Father God, we want to say thank you for the time. Father God, we ask that we continue to remain humble within you. Father God, we ask that we trust in you. Father God, continue to give us the strength, the glory, the mercy. In your name, Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Coach B. All right, so this is completely impromptu. Everything's off the top. Coaches haven't been forewarned about what questions are coming, so you're getting the true, authentic answers from each one of us. So I think to start off, we want to just go into what does the word family mean for you guys? I guess we can kind of go around the room. Coach K,
yeah.
You want to go first?
I think family is a support system. Family doesn't always have to be blood. It's people that are going to be there for you at the end of the day, no matter what you're going through. So that's my take on that.
Got it. Coach Chris?
Family is a collaborative group, support system, just a collaborative effort to achieve a goal, a set goal, and it's togetherness is the biggest thing for me. So there we go. Family.
Coach B, what you got?
I would say family are the ones you care about most. Doesn't matter the phone call, the hour. If family needs you, family needs you. The way I was raised is you got family, you show up for them. You do what you need to be doing, but also like Coach K, Coach Chris said, hey, sometimes family has nothing to do with blood, so that's just some of the things. It's all about the connection and relationship you have.
Definitely just a support system that comes through in a variety of ways, and like all the coaches said now, it doesn't have to be blood.
Right. I think kind of falling in the same lines. I think that's exactly right from everybody. I think it's the sacrifices too, right? Mm-hmm. Like for family, I think as an individual or even a group, right? Or somebody that you're willing to sacrifice certain things from. When you think about a mother's love, think about a dad, you think about brother, sister. Right now, if I ask you guys, which we are, so Rowe Pro, like as coaches, I said this is our coaching staff, but ultimately, like this is our family. Like you guys need anything on the spot, I'll do my best to try to make that happen. I know the feeling's mutual from each one of y'all, so I think family definitely plays a part in that being the sacrifice for one another, from that standpoint. So I guess now, like, next question would be, what makes us a family, including our athletes, right? Like when you think about, we say Rowe Pro fam, we throw that saying around a lot. What does that mean to you? Like when we say Rowe Pro fam, and even if you want to give an example of a family moment with an athlete or with the coach, whatever that looks like. So.
Go ahead. I was gonna say, I think it's that relationship building. At least with my athletes, I know they can come to me and talk to me about whatever they want to talk about.
Right.
So having that open communication and letting them express themselves with no judgment.
I like it.
I think just building a relationship with them. I have a good example with Luke Wakefield, one of the guys I know. Just seeing his growth from last year and a half ago. Seeing him come up from JV and his camaraderie's effort, and his dad just tapping back in with him and communicate with him how better he's gotten. That in itself, it just tells me a lot. Like they really trusting us and building that relationship. Making a family.
That's right.
I would say having the ability to show up. I think for us at Rowe Pro, we show up, right? We show up to events. We show up to family meetings. We show up, and I ultimately feel like the art of family is, those last couple of words is I love you. It's the art of showing up, and I do believe that love is an action versus just saying. And I truly believe that family is an action, right? Because you can have family that's not supporting too. I think we all have seen family that's not as supportive as well too. But just the art of showing up and being supportive and saying, hey, I love you, and actually meaning it by showing you. Right?
Absolutely. Teamwork. As far as us coaches, teamwork is everything. But then even with the athletes that we have coming in, like we always tell them, y'all got to meet us 50-50. You just can't come here and expect us to do all the work. You have to come with some type of work ethic. We minimize saying, okay, you got to be athletic. No, because we done turned a lot of unathletic athletes into really good athletes. So
would you say you got to be willing?
Exactly.
You got to be willing. I think being willing. I think in all areas.
I think it's a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
Right.
Just being willing.
And just I think off that too, we kind of go by the saying too, like Pro is the home for athletes. Like when you think of home, that leads like ultimately you have a family inside. So I think we provide that comfortability for our athletes. This is home. I feel like you can't really tap in and become your greatest self until you kind of feel comfortable in that environment, right? Like from a standpoint of not comfortability in the training, but comfortability in just the environment. When you come in, like they know, okay, this is home. They know Coach Matt, Coach Chris, any one of us, we may ask them like, hey, how's school going, right? Like it's deeper than just coming in here being a number coming to RoPro. Like I think since day one, that's always been our mission, is to maintain and keep that personal relationship with our kids, because we know ultimately that's how we're gonna be able to let them become vulnerable so we can see, because sometimes which will lead to the next thing is like the mental side of things. Like some athletes, like they'll come in here and they'll execute everything from a physical standpoint, but then when they leave out of here, they're not taking it to their field of play, and it could be something mentally stopping them from that. So which is gonna kind of lead me into the next question, which is like, okay, what's the impact that you see between family, whether that's, and we've seen athletes come from good family, bad families come in here, like what effect does that have on an athlete's like mental?
I'll start this one off. I think this can go a few different ways, right? You could have a supportive household, you can have a non-supportive household. And one thing I talk about in consultations is the village.
Right.
Because one, we gotta realize that you may be lacking something that I may have, or you may lack something that I may need.
Right.
But if we don't have that transparent moment to be able to discuss what we need, then how are we helping each other?
Right.
Right? So, and I always say, hey, like kids come to practice, they come to training, you say, hey, I know you showed up, but did you show up?
Right.
Did you show up? Like, and that ability means, am I showing up ready to be uncomfortable? Am I showing up ready to learn? Am I showing up ready to take the coaching that I need, whether it's the right thing or the wrong thing at that time? But I think it generally takes villages, our village to do it. I think we've kind of gotten away from that, and I think that's what RoPro does. We focus on the village, and the village means, hey, the village is stronger together, right? Naturally, and I think the world needs to hear that naturally and go back to the village.
Absolutely.
Right?
I think we do a good job as all coaches of making it our duty to be involved in a kid's life, just not when they come in here, but outside. Like, even if a kid don't want to give us any feedback on what's going on out there, we at least ask. Like, I think it just gives us a better idea of how to coach this athlete. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's really a blessing to be able to be somebody's mentor or somebody to guide a kid. So just having that opportunity to have.
Yeah, like you mentioned, just having that connection with them, inside or outside, just developing that relationship, continually developing that relationship with them, and just being their backbone when they need help. A lot of kids have stuff going on outside of sports where they need a tunnel wave to relay a message to somebody to get something off their chest, or whatever the case may be. And just having that connection with them, it will definitely help, get that out for them. So.
That's deep.
For sure.
All right, so like now, next question, kind of playing off, trying to build off of these questions. The next one I would say, like, what's your approach as a coach to, or with the kid that's not allowing you in from a mental standpoint? Like, we know, okay, whether it's signs we see from the parent, right? Because sometimes we do. I mean, we've been in this long enough where we can see where, okay, this kid is truly supported, this kid's not supported, right? I mean, because just because, let's go ahead and stop there, right? Just because you financially back a kid doesn't mean that you're supporting a kid, right? And we catch that a lot. Sometimes it's like,
I agree.
Yeah, you may have a parent that's paying for a kid to come train at RoPro, right? But it's not supporting you just chewed them out all the way here. You didn't show them any type of love when they got here. You're not gonna show them anything when they get home. But I'm paying for you to do all these things, right? So like, what's your approach when we're dealing with certain kids that we know 9 times out of 10, whether they told you or they haven't told you, how do you kind of get into that kid's mental frame to kind of start rewiring, reshaping? Because we all know that sports are 80% mental, 20% physical. So it's like, if their mental isn't right, we're never going to see them perform at that level that they need to perform outside of row pro. Like, we see it in drills, but then like from there, we're like, all right, it's not crossing over like it should be. So what's your approach, going back to it, so what's your approach to kind of help a kid lock in when they're dealing with family things or things outside of row pro?
So I'll be the first to say, because I've dealt with that a lot over the years, I think it's more so, okay, if you can't verbally get out of them what you want to, you really just tap in on truly what we do here. Okay. After, it may be a hard workout. Most of the time, it's never an easy workout. It's just, you just may be getting better as an athlete.
Right.
But all workouts are going to be very competitive. I'm going to read you through that whole workout. And I feel like all our coaches do a really good job of like reading. Not reading. And I don't even want to say it is reading. I was about to say breaking them down, but it's not. It's just the physicality of what we do here. But it really, that's when most of them have came out and showed like, I got to tell them. I got to talk to him. I got to tell him what's going on, or he's going to keep pushing me, because that's what we do. We push our athletes.
I think reassurance, man. Reassurance, what the end goal is that having that ambition. Like, you know, I have had examples this past week where I told athletes, hey, I need you to come back in more often, you know, while you're in the season. It's like, well, my mom, you know, they can't get me out here because my schedule, whatever the case may be. It's like, okay, but the end goal is for you to get to the collegiate level, right? Play on the highest level. So you got to find ways to have that conversation with your parents, like, hey, I really want to like become better in my sport. Can I get on the weekends? Can I get on Sunday? Can I get in, you know, on a Friday when nobody's going to be here? You know, just finding time to get in there, and I think that definitely gonna go a long way for them. So,
yeah, I think if verbally, I always try to relate to a person, and if that doesn't work verbally, like Matt was saying, you read your athlete, you can see the wheels turning in their minds and their heads, and I'm an encourager. That's all you can really do when people don't want to speak. Encourage, boost confidence, say good job, high five goes a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I second that, but I always say coaching is like being in the pulpit as a pastor, right? You know, having that in your heart to say, okay, well, not every kid is going to be that I'm able to communicate the same way, right? I may be able to push this kid a little different versus just showing up a little different from this kid, like Chris said, reassuring. But I think once you realize that all kids are different, right? But in that difference, there's a quiet kid, there's a outgoing kid, that's a hold my emotions in kid, right? So you got different characteristics of them. You just got to identify and how, right? So I always say, hey, I use my gift, right, to be able to read and be able to say, hey, or just be able to drive you and push you to that next level to kind of see what I can get out of you, right? Because naturally, sometimes some athletes haven't been pushed, so they don't know where they could go, right? So I think sometimes just being able to speak into them, that's why I say sometimes coaching is, it were for me, and I'm sure for all of us, is more so of a, hey, let me minister to you. Let me find out what's really going on with you, because I always say in order for a tree to grow, I must know the roots of the tree. And if I don't, because a tree grows downward naturally, so I got to know what's going on with you so you can grow, all right? Because you may be in the wrong environment. So I guess I make sure you're in the right one.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think kind of like leading into a session, like my approach, and I think we all do it, we just don't like really put it to the language, but the book, The 5 Love Languages, right? So like, I think for me it's getting to understand like what type of kid is this, right? So like attention to details is not only what we preach to our athletes, but us as coaches, we gotta do the same thing, attention to details. So a kid comes in, right? So I may have fist bumped him right before he started a drill, right? All right, let's go. That's physical touch, right? So physical touch, boom, go through the drill, whatever. If you kind of turned up a little bit off that drill because you got a fist bump, all right, this kid may just like, all right, fist bumps, hey, how you doing today? Embrace them when they come in, right? You may have another kid where it's like, all right, active service type, right? Like, all right, hey, go ahead, let me do this for you, right? Like showing them. So just finding out that standpoint, and it's not like really diving deep into it, but at the same time, just to do little things and see if that kind of changes. Do they start opening up a little bit more, right? Because some kids, and we know some of our kids, like, it's like, hey, Coach Roy, I just, yeah, I don't like fist bumps. I'm not gonna call her out. Matt, we know who we're talking about. One of our athletes, she's just like, she likes to be to herself. She doesn't like to be touched at all from a standpoint of like fist bumps, handshakes, anything like that. So it's just like, all right, cool. But she loves freaking words of affirmation. And you did really well on that rep. That was crazy. That was a really good rep. Now she comes back and goes even 10 times harder on the following rep, right? So like, I think just finding out what type of kid that you're dealing with, find out like what's essentially like what's their love language, right? And then from there kind of express that a little more. And then before you know it, because we all know like there's certain athletes that's gonna gravitate towards B more than K, or K more than Matt, or Matt more than Chris, or whatever that looks like. And it's just because we all have a certain love language that we do speak better. Like even an act of like, and we've done it plenty of times. Kay just did it, an act of giving a gift for one of our kids, right? Like she gave the gift, but she kind of read her athlete too, right? To know like, okay, this is the approach, and she hit a home run. Like that's what that kid needed, right as they were going through the midst of what they were going through, right? So, and I think that's what makes our coaching staff so unique as well. Is just our ability to just be all in for an athlete. I think for me, just knowing that, okay, a parent, being that I have my own daughter now, it's like, there's no amount of money, anything in this world that's more important than my child, right? So from that standpoint, anybody that's gonna take care of my child, or I'm gonna leave them, and that shows the trust from our parents too. When we say family, like these parents are literally like, we'll meet parents a couple times, maybe once. Some of them, we don't even meet them at all. They sign them up on the app and they come in. But that's the trust that we've gained from our community, from our kids. And I think just having individuals like you guys around, like just making sure like we don't take that for granted. Like, okay, I don't care if this is your first time or 100th time coming in here, we're gonna treat you the exact same and want you to get better and continue to grow. So next question I kind of want to go into is, or let me just ask, do you guys have success stories of a kid? Give me a two, we won't name drop, but give me two stories of a kid that came from a strong background, family background, and we've seen them kind of take it to the highest level, and like the characters, like the traits, the characteristics that this kid possesses. And then give me an example of a kid that doesn't have a strong family background, but yet they were able to prevail and push through, and what traits or characteristics do they have that the other kid doesn't have, right? But yet they're able to still be successful. There's more than one way to become successful in this world. So like what? Give me those two. Like what's boom, a kid, yeah.
I have a kid. I've been training since he was maybe 9 years old. This was before I got my training ability inside a facility, but I've been training since he was 9 years old. And I've been coaching youth football for a while. And he wasn't the most athletic on the team. But one thing about him, he had a lot of fire. He had a lot of fight and a lot of work ethic. So fast forward here, this kid is in his senior year in college. High school. Last year was his junior year. He looked around. All of his friends had offers. Everybody had an offer. I mean, when you look at the stat sheet, it should have been him. That should have been, the initial, those type of offers. And I just literally said to him, I said, hey, your time is coming, but while you're in this frustrating moment, you got to trust God. You got to trust the process. And I told him, I said, hey, since I've been knowing you since a young man, you've never had it easy. You and your family, you've never had it easy. So what makes you think that it's gonna be this way this time? Right. I said, so what you gotta do is you gotta knuckle up, you gotta get on your knees, you gotta thank God for what he gave you, the ability, first off. Your grades are fine. They find you wherever they are. And this kid turned out, before his senior year, having 16 offers and committing, coming out. And the kids that were more, and I don't wanna say it this way, but the kids that were way more talented didn't make it.
Right.
They didn't make it. They were way more talented from the age of 9 all the way up. They didn't make it because his characteristics and his work ethic, and he didn't have a strong support system as far as financially, but he had people around him. He had a strong village that say, hey, I see you, even at your best and your lows. And I've also dealt with athletes that, when it comes to financially having everything together, being able to show up, be on time, having that push, but that adversity shot. When that adversity came, they didn't know how to handle it. Right. So I've been through adversity, so I like to use my own personal testimonies to help athletes build. So what I did was I kind of shared, hey, Coach B, I went through that. I went to a state and just crapped it, right? I was extremely nervous, anxiety going through the roof. So, hey, one thing I can tell you is I've been through that. I've been there. So what I want you to do is, hey, take that mental approach, calm yourself down. Your work is your preparation, right? So just teaching them how to handle adversity, because adversity doesn't stop where you are, right? At that next level, it just keeps going. So just being able to speak life into other athletes in different forms. And it doesn't matter whether it's the west side of Charlotte or Weddington area, it doesn't matter what area you are. I think we're all searching for something that we need, and that's somebody in our corner that'll fight for us and reach down and grab us.
Right. 100%. What you got?
I got an athlete. A couple of years ago, when I first, starting in here, I had an athlete come in, baseball kid. He's one of the guys that's trained here previously before I arrived here, but he's coming off an injury, and he just had, at that moment in time, I met him, and we're getting into the workout, whatever the case may be. I'm asking him, what's your goals, and whatever the case may be. And he's telling me, like, I want to get to this point. I want to get to college. I want to play at the highest level. MLB is my aspirations. So as we're going through the workout, he starts, he's taking like heavy breaths as he's doing like his workout. So I'm asking him, like, what's going on? He said, well, I'm just having anxiety, man. I'm just coming off an injury. I'm a junior now. I don't know what I'm gonna do as far as the season goes. So I had to reassure him, like, okay, let's take a deep breath. Let's write down your goals, what you want to do, and let's just, take it one workout at a time, And from there, I had a good conversation with him at that workout. And then that same week, we were texting back and forth. I was letting him know, hey, I'm still here. Anything you need. From there, he transferred on to a different school. But at this point now, he actually does play collegiate baseball. And I think just that story in itself, it just blew my mind to show that a lot of kids that's in supportive areas still have anxiety, whether it be from something that happens on the field, something that happens in their family. And just having that reassurance and that family support system behind them outside their family is definitely very much needed.
Right.
Mine was probably, I had a athlete, that's been with us since day one, since, the business we didn't even have an overhead. And parents were paying at first, and, reached a couple struggles, and he wasn't showing up. He just kind of dropped off, and I'm wondering, like, okay, what's going on? So reached out to him, told me everything that was happening, but he didn't want to tell me everything. And I think more so it was financial. And then it came a time where he was making enough money to afford us. And recently, I was getting emotional, but I'm good.
I am too.
Recently, I know his dad was diagnosed with something, and it really took a shift because, his parents started helping him out again since he's in college, running track. And, he was one of those ones, we had to take under our wing, like, nah, you good. You in college now, you paid your dues, like you entering your junior, senior year in college, it's time. But 2 PRs at conference championship. And mentally he's there. He dealt with a breakup with a girl. I feel like everybody, but he was going through a lot, and just to be able to be there for him, and hear, I didn't know we were that close until he called me wanting to talk to me about everything that was going on, starting from his girl, that, the breakup, and then what his dad was going through, then the financial with his parents. Everything just was like, hey, this is God telling me you need to truly take him under your wing, and man, everything is lovely right now.
That's good. Beautiful. That's good. Yeah.
I'm new, so I'm still learning everybody that's coming through the doors. But one of my athletes currently, she didn't make her volleyball team. So I would love to see how the outcome is, but we're working really hard on that mindset of just locking in, because she's a great cheerleader for everybody, teammate-wise. Loves to encourage everybody. It's so beautiful to see. But it's that self-talk to herself where she just beats herself up. So we're really working on confidence and just showing up for herself with the training that we're doing here. So let's see where that goes.
Yeah, she's gonna do great. She's gonna do great.
So,
Yeah. I think like seeing, so the support for me, right? Like not even just giving an example. I think the perfect balance for like a kid, right, is that family system or support system where that kid has them if they fall, but at the same time, when the kid is walking on their own, they feel like they're truly walking on their own. So meaning like this is a family where, okay, yes, we're gonna pay for you to do this, or we got your back with this, we're gonna show up for this and do that, but at the same time, like you gotta do the work, or you're gonna make sure that that athlete is actually becoming that mature young man, young woman that's gonna eventually be able to take on the world, right? When you in that college, once college is over. And I think our message that kind of gets misconstrued sometimes is like, all right, at the top of the year, we switched our message to we want all of our kids, or we believe that we're gonna provide our kids with the skills and foundation to play collegiate athletics. It's way bigger for myself, and I know it's for you guys. It's not as much as playing the actual college sport. It's just being that we've been around those athletes, partake in like, or partake in like a college sport or whatnot. We know what that can bring to the table, just a structure standpoint, and it's going to set you up. It shows that you can even, I mean, you have some kids that take off and go into certain careers, and just based off of if you play a college sport, they throw your resume somewhere else, right? They're going to put you over here because it automatically shows, you know, what teamwork takes, you know, that you've been able to battle through adversity, all these things. So we want our kids not just to be a college athlete, but to be a person that's going to be able to deal with life so much better than others. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't care how talented you are on the field, off the field, in your career space or whatever, it's going to come down to who's the most consistent and who can prevail through certain things. So I think seeing those families that are able to like help that kid do that, those are the good families for me. The families that I love dealing with, that's not having the kid too dependent on them, but at the same time, they're just not leaving the kid stranded either. You know what I'm saying? So
Showing up.
yeah, showing up.
Yeah, so, Ro, I know you was asking questions, but it just thought just came to my head, and it said, what would you do if you were coming up and you had a coach like you?
Yeah, we talk about that all the time.
You know, what level would you be on if you had a coach? If I had a coach like myself, you know, what does that look like at 16, 17?
Yeah.
The ability, of course, you know, we're all smelling ourselves at that time, right? Which is 16, 17-year-olds do. But, you know, I just generally feel like, man, what would I tell the young athletic me? And I would say is, you got to keep going regardless. Regardless of what happens, you got to keep going. Right. You didn't write that story. It was already written, right? You know, I would definitely already continue to focus on my faith like I've always been, but I would literally say, hey, your story is written. It's about which chapter you're in.
Right. True. 100%. 100%.
I think going back to like the whole different backgrounds, everybody's coming from different backgrounds when you're on a team. Mine definitely, I would have told myself, like, you deserve to be here just like anybody else.
That's good, Kay. That's good.
I probably would, my younger self, I probably would tell myself to stay consistent. And when something goes wrong, to stay in it, you know, don't bail on it, you know, and just keep pushing, keep working hard on it. You know, Mac can contest to this. There was times when I did certain sports where I didn't finish it all the way through, you know, and I look back on it like, man, I wish if I had somebody, that support system to say, hey, man, you know, just keep going, just keep working out every day, keep pushing yourself, and everything will work out. So,
yeah, for sure. I go back to, you know, coaching, like exactly in coaching, like we look at ourselves like. And Chris, you just said it, and the reason why I'm breaking up Chris, because it's like, I know B was very successful in football, I know Ro was very successful in football, but Chris just said, like, sometimes he bailed on himself. But if you look at Chris right now as a coach and what he does for these athletes here, it's like, wow.
Right.
What if he really did have him as a coach that was saying, what you doing? Like, no, you got to do this. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So I look back on that aspect of the coaching like, what if I truly had a coach that knew what they were doing? I think we all went through that coach that didn't know what they were doing. With that, it was just like a middle school coach that probably just took the job. Oh, you teach math. We need a football coach, DB. Yeah, I'll take it.
Right.
Maybe just to tell kids what to do,
Right.
because their wife told them what to do at home, so they took it. And that was a comic moment. But nah, it's real, and we're not gonna get into bashing coaches, but I feel like coaches can't take for granted their athlete. Like, don't take your athlete for granted. Like, if you're gonna do that job, and I say this for any other coach watching, if you're gonna do that job, take it serious. Because there's athletes out here that really have it, but something's going on at home, and you don't make it any better because of your bad way of coaching.
All right. Yeah. And then I'm gonna say, just like spilling off that, to balance it out a little bit, shout out to the coaches too that don't have the experience, but nobody stepped up, and you're doing your best. Like, we noticed you as well, right? Like, the coaches that, you just volunteered to take it. It's really the issue that we have is with the coaches. They're like, oh, I'll take the job, but then you have to do it, and you don't really want to be there. So then you take out things on the athletes. Now you damage a kid not wanting to come back to a certain sport or do something just because they became damaged. That's where our issue is. Coaches here, from the sports performance standpoint, that's where we have an issue at. I think we can all agree on that. It's just like, if you're gonna do it, go all in. Like, if you're not, then just sit back. We prefer you sit back and just let somebody that is at least gonna come in and care for these kids, and they'll stay up late trying to figure out a playbook, right? Even though I just took this job, I'm gonna stay up and do my best for it. And I think for families, like, you gotta understand and watch those coaches too, right? Like, know the coach, like, okay, we lost this game. We're 0-4, 0-6, whatever that looks like. But guess what? This coach, he really cares about our kids. He's pouring in everything that he can to these kids. So, like, I'm gonna kind of neglect and avoid looking at the actual record of our team and see that this coach is actually doing justice, trying his best to do it, right? It's misfortune. But I've seen coaches on the other side where kids are winning and the kids don't like it, right? And that's when it becomes an issue. It's like, all right, the kids are winning, but they still got an issue with going to practice. They don't even want to be around their coach. It's like, that's like, what kind of environment are you trying to put out? Because ultimately, like, sports is the vessel for life. Like, that's why parents put their kids in sports. It's like, okay, sports can help you become a better adult in life. Whether you go to the college level or not, like, you only played 2 years of basketball, or you played 3 years of football, whatever it looks like, you were still on a team. Y'all still dealt with adversity. Y'all had game plans and got hit in the mouth. So it's just like you had to, that's the same thing with life though. So you have a set game plan, and you get hit in the mouth. Sometimes it doesn't operate the way you expect it to. So message in a nutshell, if you're gonna take the job, take it, do it the correct way, do your best. If you're not, like Coach Matt said, just don't deal with them, man. Don't take it, don't go in there. What's another, all right, so I guess going now, let's talk about I guess I wanna say, like, the fortitude, right? Like, do you see a difference in a kid that has a strong family background or just a strong family support? Do you see a difference in their ability to push through those adverse times, right? Those super hard times, do you see, or do you feel like it's an equal playing ground sometimes? Do you feel like that's genetic? Do you feel like that's the actual kid? Like, we know that outside things can influence, but do you feel like one kid has an advantage over another when it comes to, like, pushing through adversity? Because I'll say, like, that's the beauty about Row Pro. What I love is, like, we do have kids come from all different walks of life, different backgrounds, and like Coach Matt said, you get them uncomfortable. We put kids in certain workouts, put them through certain things, then we're able to kind of see, all right, this is their breaking point, or this is where they're at. Does that play a difference in depending upon, like, what background these kids come from, or you just feel like it's the individual, is that the actual kid?
You do.
And here's why I say I've seen some athletes with a strong support system, right? And when I say support system, which means, hey, mom played a sport, dad played a sport, we were very successful, it led to a great career. What I do see in those athletes sometimes, I see trying to be perfect, trying to overanalyze certain things. When naturally, if we're talking about genetics, you have exactly what mom has, you have exactly what dad has, right? So it's just about getting that mental approach, right? I've also seen athletes that didn't come from as support. Sometimes you don't even recognize support, right? So, when you haven't had support coming up, and you got coaches that are supportive, or you got people that really want to get the best out of you, sometimes I find that those athletes push back.
Right.
Because they haven't registered that, wait, he's supporting me. He's helping me. It may be in a different communication language, or it may be different than what I've had it, but ultimately, when they find that space, they realize, okay, well, I needed this support system to get to the next level. Right. So I would say recognizing it. Right. Recognizing it when you haven't had it before, and saying, hey, I'm not perfect, when I have a strong support system, when everybody's cheering for me. Don't put that weight on your shoulders. Right. Don't put that big, heavy weight on your shoulders. Just produce.
Right.
Just produce.
Right. I'm saying. Try it out. What you think?
I don't know. I feel like mindset is a very individualistic just characteristic, because you can have 2 kids that are hungry for it, that want to play so bad, and that outside factor, it just doesn't really make a difference, I don't think.
Right.
Because 2 kids want it bad. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
No,
I think the outside factor can occur if you're talking about kids, particularly from different environments, right? You have a kid, if I go home, I might not be able to see, my brother coming home, or whatever the case may be, because of the type of environment I live in, and you got kids in this area, there can be a difference there. So like, I'll say that kids that live in certain areas have to fight through adversity a lot more than kids that are more successful areas. So I would say that environment's a big thing.
Yeah, I'll say, teeing off of every coach, I've seen athletes that come from very good backgrounds, very good support systems, and because of their mental and their work ethic, they go kill it. But then I also see a kid that doesn't come from a good support system and a good family background, and they come and still kill it. Right. I've seen it on both sides. So I don't know, it's kind of hard for me to, we always talk about it like, he's a dog. Right. Like we say it all the time. Like that's just the way it is. It's just when they got all that, and they, like, we know what they're going through outside of here, and we see them come in the lab and they still go out and kill it. It's like, that's a dog.
Right.
That's all it is.
Yeah. Right.
They have it.
Right. I think you see it on both sides. I think even like when we talk about like the kid that comes from that background where everything's put together, like, dogs still come out of there as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, we see him, and it's crazy. It's just like Kobe Bryant. We talked about that before. It's Steph Curry. Like, why are you still home? Your dad was in the league. Like, you're fine. Why are you going to care so much to keep pushing, right? The way you do. Like, and then you do have those kids that come from not strong family backgrounds. But I think sometimes, like, when their story pops, it's just, it resonates so well with everybody. Like, oh my gosh, they had the struggle, they had this, they had that. But I think at the end of the day, like you said, Kendra said, like, it comes down to the individual. Like, I think you still have to have people from the outside pouring in, row pros, other coaches that do well by kids. Like, you gotta have teachers, right? Like, big salute to all teachers. Like, you're with these kids more than all of us, right? And you have to be able to pour into these kids day in and day out, and give them the correct things to navigate them through life. And you get to see firsthand, you may have a kid go through something first part of class, good, and then they go to lunch, come back, bullying occurred or something crazy happened. Now, as a teacher, you have to be able to, like, all right, get this situation handled, right? So I think it depends. I think you got to have the outside people, outside of the family, to pour into these kids that ultimately help shape and mold their mindset, right?
And we all could be saying the same thing,
right?
100%. But it just takes the village back to that village.
Yeah. I mean, for me, shoot, I don't care which kid you come through Row Pro. Like, we're wired you to become a dog. Like, you can come from $4 million home, whatever. You can come from a shack with just you and your 10 family members or whatever that looks like. If you step in here, like, we're gonna try to shape and mold you to help you deal with not just your sport, but to deal with life.
So that kind of, I don't know, I keep trying to take your spot right
now. No, go ahead.
It keeps taking me. So
What's
you
up?
ask your athletes, who are you surrounded by?
Right. That's deep.
That's
Who? Because if you don't have the correct circle, chasing the same, whether you're chasing the same dream or a different one, if you don't have the right people that are chasing something,
right,
then you're looking at your success and you're trying to balance it out. But if you don't have the right team, everything requires a team. Everything requires a village. Because when you're successful, I'm successful. Right. When you're successful, I'm successful. Right? That's a team. That's a village. And if you're not, I'm not gonna say competing,
Right.
Right? I'm not gonna say the word competing, but if you're not pushing yourself to be uncomfortable and be around people who wanna serve excellence at the highest level, then we gotta start there in the circle.
Right.
You know, we listen to the pastor a lot. That's what he talks about. What you surround yourself with is how successful you can come, right? So everybody can have, okay, let's say you have a family that comes from money. Everybody comes from money. But does everybody come from grind?
Right.
Does everybody come from separation?
Right.
Does everybody know the ability to set boundaries
Right,
on
100%.
things and people, right? Because it matters. Because a lot of times you won't be successful by the people you hang around with, or you can be successful by the people you hang around with.
Right.
So it goes hand in hand,
Right.
I think.
That's it. That's it. Anybody else? Y'all got something else?
Anything? Nah, just keep going.
I mean, that was it. Question wise, I mean,
That was it. I mean,
I think I hit every question that I had to ask you guys. And like I said, guys, this was completely on the coaches had no clue these questions were firing off. So I wanted to make sure you got the genuine, true answer behind each one of our coaches. I think we did a great job. Episode 1, like I said, we're gonna go through our core values each episode. I guess we're calling it RoPro Roundtable Talk, or actually Square Table. Can't say. Rectangle.
Rectangle talk.
We will invest. We're gonna try to get a round table.
Yeah.
Get an orange round table top, maybe something crazy to go along with that. But yeah, be ready to tune in. Let us know what you thought about this episode. It's episode 1. I mean, like I said, we were rolling with it. We just feel like these are things like that our family, our athletes, and those people that know us and don't know us need to hear. Kind of the insight of what we think as coaches here at RoPro. Make sure that you tune in for the next episode 2, which will be going over ambition, right? So we'll have a series or different questions along ambition. Yeah, ambition's gonna get probably deep there, so you definitely don't want to miss that. Well, I guess we're getting ready to log out.